What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here, of course, to preview UFC Vegas 73, where Mackenzie Dern meets Angela Hill in the Apex. Yes, there's no fans, but the card, actually, when you look down the card on paper, it's actually a very good card. Yes, it hasn't got name value. Yes, it might not have the main event that you might dream of. You know, you probably wouldn't write this fight card down on paper as one of your dream cards, so to speak, a fantasy card. But it has got some very good fights on there. Now, of course, we coming off the back of Charlotte, and prior to that, the pay-per-view. So you've had two events back-to-back which have had sold-out crowds and performed very, particularly well. But I actually think the main event this week was better than the main event last week. Because Mackenzie Dern and Andrew Hill, the heavyweights can either give it or it can be hit and miss with the heavyweights. Whereas I think this fight can have something quite special to it. We know Mackenzie Dern, we know what she brings. Of course, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu absolute assassin. She's been through it, done it all in the Jiu-Jitsu world. Obviously, she crossed over to MMA, and she's done it convincingly well. Yes, she's had 3 losses, but those losses to Yan Zhao Nan, Marina Rodriguez, and of course, Amanda Ribas. So she's had quote-unquote good losses. They're not losses where you go, oh, she should have won that fight. She should have been on top of that fight. She's got to the top 5 on 2 or 3 occasions now, and not been able to quite get across the line. Although she did against Yan Zhao Nan, obviously that was a split decision loss. She won the rounds through dominance more than damage. There's more damage and damage does score higher. Yan Zhao Nan, put more damage on Mackenzie Dern throughout the rounds, which gave her the wins. But it was a very close fight because we saw Yan Zhao Nan sort of hit for a minute or two, get some damage off there. Then Mackenzie Dern will get the takedown, and Mackenzie Dern will take over the fight from that point and convincingly dominate Yan Zhao Nan, but she wouldn't put any damage on Yan Zhao Nan, hence why she lost the fight. But it was a very close bout, and we've just seen what Zhao Nan's done to Jessica Andrade, and probably isn't going to be next in line for the title. Hopefully, Zhang Weili beats Amanda Lemos with all due respect, and we can have that battle in China for the title, which would be absolutely perfect for the UFC. But Angela Hill, she's a veteran in this game. Okay, yes, she's 15-12. Okay, yes, she's lost 4 of her last 6. She's got wins against Lupita Godinez and Emily Ducote. She does go the distance a lot. She's been on the back end, of a few split decisions, which could have gone in her favour, notably against Claudia Gadelha and Michelle Waterson Gomez. And she also lost the vice split decision to Lemos. And now, you can take that in one of 2 ways, can't you? You can go back and get better from it, or you can make the whole excuse of, I should have won that, or, I've been robbed, I've been here and that. And sometimes it feels like she sits on those losses too long mentally, rather than going, you know what, it wasn't my night, or shit happens, we move again, and we go and turn it around. Now, she does have the tendency to go turn it around eventually, but she can go on a 2-loss skid, a 3-loss skid, like she did in her last sort of stretch. But she is 2-0. She's coming on the back of 2 wins, again, against Godinez and Ducote. But she is 38 years of age, whereas Mackenzie Dern's 30, and she's coming into her prime Dern. Whereas it feels like Angela Hill, who probably would be a better atom weight. I don't know what her weight cut is at, but she feels like I feel like she'd be much better at atom weight than straw weight, and I feel the same with the likes of Michelle Waterson. I feel like they'd be better at 105 than 115, but that's the nature of the sport and the business. There isn't a 105 pound division, so you've got to fight at the category you're in. But 38 years of age, again, it's an interesting fight. It's probably the most important fight of her career, because she loses this, she definitely not getting into the top 8, top 10 anytime soon. But it's an interesting one, because we know the skill set of Angela Hill. We know she's got great Muay Thai. She's got good kicks, she's got good elbows, she's got good punching. She can take it down. If she takes it down to the ground, though, that's where Mackenzie Dern will take over. So she has to try and keep this a standing up fight for as long as possible. And that's where the question marks on Mackenzie Dern come in, because seeing Mackenzie Dern's progress under Jason Perillo, her boxing is getting better from where you compare it when she debuted in 2018, 2017. Since her debut, and since she's gone to Perillo, she has increased tenfold her boxing, and she has looked good. She has been able to trust her hands to try and get a 1, 2, 3 in there to engage and decrease the distance between her and her opponent, so she can get the takedown and then work what she's good at with the submissions. So she is getting there. And again, the striking's coming later, because she hasn't needed to use the striking in jiu-jitsu, because obviously it's a grappling contest. Whereas she needs it now. And she's coming into her prime at 30 years of age, so she's going to be one to look at title shots in the next 2 or 3 years. A win tonight against Angela Hill won't put her into a title shot necessarily, but let's put her back on the right track to get a Jessica Andrade, to get a Rose Namajunas she's called out, to get a maybe a Tatiana Suarez down the line. If Tatiana Suarez can pick up a win, because she's fighting back at that strawweight division. Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern would be an incredible fight to watch. Something along those lines, but she has to get the job done tonight. And we'll have a look at the tail tape, because again, it's a contest where you look at paper and you go, 12-3 against 16-12. So I wouldn't say Mackenzie Dern's she's still a prospect to rise and contender, but she's not new to the game anymore. And obviously Angela Hill's very much a veteran, with all due respect. She's put her heart and soul into this game, and at 38 years of age, she carries a record of 15-12. Both of them came in on weight. No problems on the scales for either of them. I remember the times when Mackenzie Dern did miss weight. She, again, since moving to Perillo, she's got her mental state and her physical state in check, and she's been pretty much flawless, hasn't she, by the results that she's been picking up. A 1.5 inch reach advantage there for Angela Hill, but of course the 8-year age gap, probably the most determining factor where these both at in their careers. Is Angela Hill over the hill? Pardon the pun. I don't know. I think this one could go the distance, and that's something Mackenzie Dern's picked up. She doesn't want to get clamped to win there, because especially with Angela Hill being the striker, if it goes the distance, it probably means that her striking's been able to get off more than Dern's been able to impact with her grappling and her jiu-jitsu. If it's going to be a finish, I think Dern gets the finish, in my opinion. I think she does have more weapons, because I think Angela Hill's probably more all-rounded, a better fighter. But I think because Mackenzie Dern's so good at one thing, that's more of the danger than what Angela Hill possesses as a whole, so to speak. Because I don't really see Angela Hill flatline in Mackenzie Dern. I don't really see Angela Hill. She might be able to submit her. She definitely can submit her. I'd be surprised if she did. But I can see Angela Hill putting a performance all-round performance together, and eking out that decision. Whereas I can see Mackenzie Dern coming in there, picking her up on the first round and armbarring her, or putting her a guillotine or a rear naked choke or something like that, heel hook. I can see that happening. And that's the way my head sort of goes. But I think Mackenzie Dern is a better fighter than Angela Hill. I think Mackenzie Dern's ceiling's a higher one. But again, it's a style matchup, and we've got a striker versus a grappler. And a grappler that's getting better at her striking as well. So it is a good test for Mackenzie Dern to see where and how she's progressed. Now, of course, there's been a lot of outside influences that may have disrupted this camp with the divorce, with Perillo going down to Colorado, but it was to train with Luke Rockhold for the Mike Perry fight. So there's been disturbances in this camp. But of course, tonight she's going to have to put that behind her when she steps into the cage, and I believe she will get the job done. I think Mackenzie Dern submits her within 3 rounds, in my opinion. But it's a close fight, and as I said, put her in the, she's already looking at the Rose Namajunas, the Yan Xiaonans. There was one more name in there that's gone off the top of my head. Maybe Mahina or Rodriguez. Obviously, Carlos Esparza, the former champ's out due to pregnancy. So congratulations to her. But of course, she won't be in the octagon for the next 12 months, 18 months if at all. But yeah, if Mackenzie Dern wins, if Mackenzie Dern and Tatiana Suarez come out of their fights with wins, that'd be the fight I'd make next, because that'd be stylistically one I'd tune into. Of course, in the co-main event, we've got Edmund Shabazian versus Anthony Hernandez. Shabazian, of course, 12-3. He's come off a fantastic win against Dacha Lungambula with that excellent second round finish, obviously stopping the skid of the 3 fights, which, in my opinion, it was given those fights too soon. Derek Brunson, Jack Nicholson, Imavov were a step too far for the. He's only 25 years of age, and when he had those fights, they were just at the start of the pandemic, so he would have been 22, 23 going into that. So he was just too young. He was fighting men when he was still really growing into his frame. But at 25 years of age now, he's going to, start. He's filled out. He won't. It grow. Being able to build muscle mass, etc. He will grow. But that sort of development phase of his life is over, really, at 25 years of age. So it's just becoming the best athlete he can be from this age. But he comes in against Anthony Hernandez, who, he is a fantastic guy to watch. He's a fighter that you enjoy watching. He's on a 3-fight win streak at the moment, with wins against Marc-Andre Barriou, Josh Fremd, and obviously just fantastic submission he got over Adolfo Vieira. One that many were surprised with, because obviously we know what Vieira brings to the cage, and specifically brings to the mat when it comes to grappling. His last loss, sorry, was against Kevin Holland. So this is a fantastic co-main event. Both strikers, well, I say both fiery fighters that you enjoy watching. And I mentioned Chabazzin's quite a cool character, but once he gets into the cage, he certainly lights up, doesn't he? This is one that could be interesting if he goes to the ground, because we know what Hernandez can do on the ground. When Chabazzin is good on the ground also, he's a bit more, again, similar to Angela Hill, he's a bit better all around it. But this is a fantastic co-main event, in my opinion. Again, when you've been reading the news all weekend, you feel like this card's one to skip. But I actually think this is a card that you have to watch, because there's some good fights in there. That, I don't see anyone's stories, quote unquote, ending tonight. But there could be some big shifts in the divisions, in the roster, come Sunday morning. But I'm going to go with Shabazzian to get the win against Hernandez and continue that resurgence, that rebirth, so to speak, of his career. Because again, those 3 losses were very poor losses, but they were losses that came at a time in his career where he probably didn't need to take those fights. But of course, he had such a meteoric rise, and being associated with Ronda Rousey, he almost got fast-tracked too quickly into those contests and came out the other side with losses on his record, but probably better experience and understanding of what to do with his career. Emily Ducote takes on Lupita Godinez. This is a catch weight at 120. Obviously, I believe Godinez is quite fresh of a fight, if I'm not mistaken. So hence why it's a catch weight. I'd announce. Yeah, she only fought last month, beating Cynthia Calvillo by a split decision at 287. Her last loss was against Angela Hill on the card. She's 4-2 in her last 6, so she's putting some good results in there. But again, this is a very quick turnaround for her. Andre Fiallo versus Jacqueline Buckley. Now this one down as fight of the night. This is going to be an incredible one. Both of these do not back down. Both of these can get a highlight reel finish. Both of these have the ability to push their gas tanks too far and find themselves, for want of a better phrase, breathing out their ass and getting finished or getting stopped or just eking over the line and losing a decision. But both of these put their heart and soul into that octagon once they're in there. Obviously, Fiallo 16-6. He's on a 2-fight loss skid, losses to Jake Matthews and Muslim Salikov. Their performances are doing well, and he just, again, I think he tired out, and they finished him later on in the fight. Obviously, he had that fantastic win against Miguel Beza. Cameron Dunn-Camp, he was very close with Miguel Pereira, who picked up a unanimous decision. But since he's come over to the UFC, it's been very fun to watch. He's 2-3 in the UFC, so he needs to be careful tonight. But he was very active. He fought 4 times in 2022. He was supposed to fight Pereira, but that fight got cancelled and pushed back to UFC 270. Whereas Jackman Buckley is 15-6. He's come down to welterweight. He made the weight seemingly fine because only 2 fighters missed weight. Obviously, he lost. He's on a 2-fight loss skid himself, with losses to Chris Curtis and Nasruddin Imavov. Again, losses that probably show he's probably a bit too small for the middleweight division. He's a very big, very jacked guy, isn't he? It's surprising that he's made 170 and made that choice, but obviously he's done it with science behind it, and I'd be able to do that. I'd be interested to see how he looks in there tonight, having to cut those extra 15 pounds down. Again, we all remember the Impa Kasanganay knockout that does the rounds anytime Buckley's fighting. You always see it, don't you? And it's a fantastic highlight reel. Fantastic spinning back kick. He has lost to Kevin Holland, Alicia De Chirico, so he's got some good losses. Well, I say good losses on there. They're losses that they might hurt your career somewhat, but they're not losses where you go, oh, this guy should not be in the UFC, or this guy is not at this caliber or this level of fighting. They're losses where you have to chalk it off as one of those ones, especially in MMA. We can have these losses in MMA, and it's not like boxing where you lose to a top 15 and everyone tells you to retire. You can lose in this sport. Chalk it down, go back and go recover, and then make the next decision in your career. And obviously tonight's decision, or the decision for tonight, was for Buckley to move down to 170. But this is the fight of the night, in my opinion, and potentially a performance of the night, because I think one of these get dropped tonight and one of these have an emphatic knockout. Now, whether that's Buckley because he's moved down too far, I don't know, but we will certainly find out within the first 5 minutes of this fight, because again, these aren't slow starters. These aren't fighters that are going to come in there and take a round to predict or download the data or what their opponent's doing. They're coming in there to swing a lever and put on a performance that earns one, if not both of them, a bonus. But I do like Buckley. I like Fiallo as well. I like what they both bring into the octagon. And yeah, be interested to see what Buckley does at 170. Michael Johnson against Diego Ferreira. If you put this fight on 4 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, this would have been the main event. But unfortunately, both of these are coming off a period of their careers. Obviously, Michael Johnson's coming off the win against Mark Diakase. which was a fantastic win. Casey just couldn't quite get off the ground there. That came in December last year. But obviously, he's 2-5 in his last 7 with losses against Thiago Moises, Clay Guida, Steely Ray, Josh Emmett. So he has lost to some very good names. Has Michael Johnson. Obviously, prior to that, he had wins over Andre Fili and Artem Lobov. He's had a lot of losses on his record. Of course, he's 21-18. So he hasn't quite. He's probably got to the top of where he could get to, but he's now come down the other side of the mountain. And Diego Ferreira, he's someone who I think is the Dariush loss, split decision loss. That's one of those sort of career paths where if that goes the other way, we might see Ferreira where Dariush is at, because obviously everyone was very high on Ferreira, because looking at him as like a physique, like a Gamera, as the next sort of generation of these lightweights, and Islam Makhachev, you could say. But since that loss, he's obviously got finished by Gregor Gillespie, and then obviously Mateusz Gamrot finished him also. So he needs to turn this around, because he could find himself on the chopping block. His last win was in 2020 against Anthony Pettis, where he submitted him. So this is a very important fight for Ferreira. To be fair, it's important for both of them, because neither of them are on absolutely, form where you could say you cannot cut them. They're on a 3-5 fight win streak, or maybe they are 5-1. They had a 5-fight winning run. They've lost one. This is their bounce back. Both of these are in a frame of form where you don't know if they're going to win or lose. If Michael Johnson gets the win tonight, I think that'd be Ferreira's time to call it in the UFC, and maybe go to a Bellator or PFL. I think he could do well in the PFL in that lightweight division. That would be very interesting against Olivier Aubin Mercier, or maybe Steely Ray, perhaps. That would be an interesting path that I could see him go down. And PFL doing fantastic work anyway. So it's not a demotion, it's just a freshen it up sort of situation for Diego Ferreira. But he's got wins against Jared Gordon. He's actually got a win over Aubin Mercier back in 2016 as well. So it'd be interesting to run that back. He has got losses to Dustin Poirier. Got a second loss back in 2014 to Dariush. So again, he is and has been in that top 10 sort of conversation. But a loss tonight would certainly see him drop out. I believe he's already out the rankings due to the nature and the competitiveness of the division. I couldn't get my words up there. But I think Ferreira's got enough to beat Michael Johnson. And if he doesn't, I think that'd be a day time and time to call it in the UFC, in my opinion. Machete versus Vladimir Borshev. Santa is coming into town tonight in Vegas. Borshev is a fantastic fighter. I know he's 6-3, but he has got something about him. Slava Claus is coming into town, not Santa yet. But he's 31 years of age. Obviously, he came through the Contender Series after being on Titan, and he put on a fantastic win against Dakota Bush. But he's 0-2 in the UFC with unanimous decision losses to Mark Casey and Mike Davis. So he has to get the win tonight. Otherwise, his time might be cut short in the UFC. Borshev, he is quite an interesting fighter to watch, isn't he? He beat Chris Duncan and Scotty Burton, so he's 1-2 in the UFC proper. But he really needs to turn that around. To 6-3. If you go down to 6-4, you're looking at Cage Warriors America. That would be interesting. Cage Warriors would be interesting. The PFL, Bellator. Yeah, your time would be cut short if you become 6-4 in the UFC, and especially losing 3 fights in a row. Unfortunately, with the nature of this sport. Obviously, Machete is 9-2. A very interesting fighter to watch. Again, maybe a Paddy Pimblett would be next for one of these two, perhaps. I know Paddy's not fighting this year, and it's still very early, so whoever wins now will probably fight one more in there. He's coming off the loss to Rafa Garcia. LCE came through the Contender Series also, so it is a Contender Series derby, you could say. But it's an interesting one to close out the prelims. Karolina Kowalkiewicz comes up against Vanessa Demopoulos. Kowalkiewicz 14-7, Demopoulos 9-4. Both of these are very quite enjoyable characters to watch, aren't they? We know how sweet Kowalkiewicz is. Demopoulos has that quite infamous now, I would say, celebratory jump in the arms of the commentator who's interviewing them. But obviously Kowalkiewicz 14-7, on a 2-fight win streak after what was a torrid time with a 5-fight loss together with Jessica Andrade, Michelle Watson, Alexa Grasso, Shannon Yan, and Jessica Penne. So those are all fantastic names. Andrade, former champion, Grasso now flyweight champion, Jan in contention for strawweight championship now. Obviously she's lost to Claudia Gadelha and Joanna Jacek back in the day at 205 and 212. So she is in the later stages of her career, 37 years of age. But this is a good fight for Demopoulos and a good fight for Cavalcante as well, because she could return to three wins in a row, which would be the first time, I believe, since 2015, or at least up until 205. But she's up against a little monster, Vanessa Demopoulos, who is, of course, also on a 2-fight win streak with Maria Oliveira and Jin Yu Frey. Since she's actually on a 3-fight win streak. Sorry, there's a grappling contest in there which she lost in 2022, but she is on a 3-fight. 3-fight win streak. Her last loss was JJ Aldrich in 2021, but she's of course on a 4-1 path in the UFC. So she's had a fantastic crossover. She lost to Corey McKenna in the Contender Series. Obviously, we know how good Corey McKenna is. Again, someone I believe that would be good at 105, just to due to the reach of her. She lost to Godinez when she went back to LFA. So interesting paths both of them fighting tonight, of course. Be interesting to get that one back maybe in the UFC. But yeah, this is a great fight. If Demopoulos wins, the biggest win of her career, but Kalikevich has the experience and has been there enough times to be able to get the victory tonight. She's seen it, done it all, fought for the title. But yeah, if she wins, I'd like to see her up against an Angela Hill, perhaps. I'm just saying they haven't actually crossed paths. I would have thought Angela Hill and Kalikevich would have crossed paths in the past, but they haven't. But they are on the latter end of their careers, both of them. But we'll go with Kalikevich, some nostalgia, and to get the victory tonight. I think that's definitely possible. Orion Koski versus Gilbert Urbina. Now, this is Contender Series versus Ultimate Fighter, isn't it? I believe Urbina either won or was very close to winning the Ultimate Fighter between Volkanovski and Ortega, I believe it was 2 years ago now. Whereas Kosi obviously came through with his brother through the Contender Series. 8-1 against 6-2. Of course, so this is an interesting fight. At welterweight, of course, both of these rising prospects. So it will be interesting to see how that fight goes down. Of course, tonight, again, maybe performance of the night bonus going in there for one of those two. You got Ilia Latifi versus Rodrigo Nascimento in the heavyweight division. That's going to be, I hope that doesn't go 3 rounds. I hope that's a round and a half at max. One of these two getting knocked out. Latifi 6-8, Nascimento 9-1. Chase Hooper up at lightweight now. He's coming on Nick Fior. He's on the 3rd fight of the night, which is an interesting one, isn't it? But they put him so early on the card because he is a fan favourite. Yes, he's gone for a tough run, 11-3-1. Obviously, clearly, I thought it was a bit of a big stretch for him to make. So he's come up to 155. I'm interested to see how he performs tonight. Victoria Leonardo versus Natalia Silva in the prelims at flyweight, and open up the card is Takashi Sato versus Temba Barimba. So it is a good card. It is a good card overall. When you see it and you see it in the Apex, I know the Apex always sours everyone's mood, don't they, when it comes to the UFC now. The Apex, when you see it as an Apex, you already lose interest 20%. I feel like this card, in my opinion, if I was UFC, I'd make a Thursday night card, perhaps. So, or maybe do Contender Series all year round. And this could be a Tuesday night card. You just have the first Michael Johnson up, perhaps. You have that on a Tuesday. You have 6 fights. No one's fighting or anything. It's a bit of a way to get your promotion out there, a bit more to get your rising contenders out there a little bit more. That'd be the way I'd do it personally. And then you can use the Apex for that. Use Apex for a midweek card just so you can get your names in there, because they have got a huge roster. But yeah, that'd be the only sort of direction I'll take it in. But again, once you actually look at the paper and the cards and you get on Tapology and you look at the names, you look at the matchups, they are very interesting matchups, and there's a lot on the line. Maybe there's a few changes on the guard, so to speak, with veterans and contenders. Or maybe there's some, I'm still here, I still got it, putting maybe UFC in their place, or giving them a contender perhaps, or giving them a prospect. I'm aiming this more at the Kabakeviches of this world, the Angela Hills of this world. Maybe it's an FU to the UFC to say, no, I'm not done yet. But yeah, either way, it's a good card. I'll let you guys guys, go and enjoy the fights, but do make sure to hit that subscribe button. Before you do go, make sure to drop our pages across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, all to follow at CageChat MMA. And I'll see you guys in the review for the next one.